This week, the Grue-Crew celebrate women in horror with a pair of gory, female-driven horror films. The first film this week is Rabid from directors Jen and Sylvia Soska, which follows Laura Vandervoort in a remake of the 1970s David Cronenburg Classic. The second film, Bliss, from director Joe Begos, follows Dora Madison in a cautionary tale of vampires and possession. I am your host, Doc Rodden, and this is Gruesome Magazine, where we review the very latest in streaming and video on-demand horror movies. Each week, my co-hosts Jeff Mohr, Crystal Cleveland, and Dave Dreher, and I will take a look at very spooky, scary, and gory genre offerings. With me this week is my co-host, Jeff Mohr. Jeff, how you doing?
I'm doing great, and I tell you what, you are really spoiling us so far this year. These are like three of the best weeks of movies in a row that I think we've ever had, at least from my point of view.
Wow, just wait for the other, 49 weeks. You're not going to like me by then.
They're stacking in nicely.
Yeah. Well, no, actually, we've got some good ones lined up in the next few weeks as well. Through February, some good stuff. And that's the reason why you, the listener, should be subscribing now and checking us out every week, right? Right, Jeff? Right?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
All right. Also joining us this week is Crystal Cleveland, the living dead girl. Crystal, do you agree with Jeff?
Yes, absolutely. Like, we've had some really good ones, which, typically there's some bad ones up in there. I guess this is really like a good time to be a horror lover.
It's insane good time. We are preparing an episode of H&R that's called The Gruesome Guide, and this one's for February of 2020. And we want to, sometimes we struggle to get 10 films that we want to talk about. We had to cut back 4 films to get to, there's so much, and many of that is theatrical, which is even more insane. It is an incredible time to be a horror fan. And rounding out the crew is Dave Dreher, which I would imagine, sir, you can back that up, right?
Absolutely. Yes. It is an amazing time to be a horror fan, Doc.
Yeah, I'm sure you remember when you would go months and months and months before another horror film would show up.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And of course, in the heyday of VHS, they would be on the counter all the time. But even compared to that, I think we're in a crazy heyday because we got video on demand, we've got theatrical, we've got streaming. It's insane.
Yeah, the streaming wars are really changing the face.
Well, January used to be known as kind of a bad month, right?
It's a dump month, but it's been kind of turning that tide too. So kind of crazy stuff.
Are we going to get to hear what Dave thought of last week's movies quickly?
I think we should. Dave, do you feel up to that? Because you missed our 100th episode.
I did.
Man.
I was so pissed. My job sucks. It got changed at the last minute, and I just could not get home in time to record. And I did want to ask you guys to postpone it because I was tired and grumpy.
I got a solution for that.
Yes. You're independently wealthy, and you're going to
retire.
Retire. All right, Dave. Yeah. What was your thoughts and favorite scene for The Wave?
The Wave was really trippy. I wasn't really quite sure what to make of The Wave at first. I actually watched it twice just because I wasn't 100% sure of what I watched the first time. But I like Justin Long, and it kind of ultimately won me over. It was kind of heading towards that, that artsy fartsy category I've created. But it was an odd mishmash of a lot of different things. I'm kind of stalling a little bit because I'm trying to think of my favorite scene, and I really can't think of one off the top of my head. Now, you got to remember, it was, a full-on, actually almost 2 weeks ago since I've watched the movie. I just remember it being very it was a very disorienting film. Is that fair to say, do you think?
Very much.
But I'm really having a hard time thinking of a favorite scene. Not so much the case with Color Out of Space. I thought that was an exceptional Lovecraft adaptation. I really enjoyed it quite a bit. Nick Cage, honestly, you can't go wrong with him. And I loved. It really wasn't even a particular scene. I just loved his performance. How he would, like on a dime, just turn into that frenzied whack job, and then he would immediately apologize after he did it, because he would just go like ballistic, and he'd be like, I'm sorry. It's got to back it off a little bit. But it was a really fun movie, and I think the director, we got the news this week where his next film may be another Lovecraft adaptation. So he may have found a little niche for him as a director, because I didn't really care much for Hardware and Dust Devil. Neither Hardware was okay, I guess, but Dust Devil I never could really get into. But these last couple, were pretty good. But was it you I was talking to, Doc? I said I kind of see this disturbing trend, and I kind of see it in these. At least in one of these films we're going to talk about tonight, of all these directors seem to just be trying to copy the same style of film, stylistically.
Cool. The Mandy effect, or is that what you're talking about?
The Mandy effect. Exactly. Okay. They seem to be kind of going there, and I've seen a lot of that in Color Out of Space. And again, we're going to talk about these ones tonight, but both of them were guilty of it to a degree, but one far worse than the other.
Yeah, you're saying Color Out of Space so fast that we're here. That
we are
Colorado. We're
space.
here in Colorado.
No, that's just you guys, because Jeff put that in your damn head.
That might be true. That might be true.
That's an Ohio accent.
Maybe. All right. Well, again, we have, as Jeff put it before the show, one-word films, or 5-letter one-word films. We have Rabid from the Soska sisters and Bliss from Joe Begos. So it'd be exciting. Hang on. We're going to talk about those here very shortly. But first, Gruesome Magazine is brought to you by ExpressVPN. VPN is a virtual private network, a secure tunnel between your device, the internet. VPNs are used to protect your online traffic from snooping, interference, and censorship. ExpressVPN provides rock-solid privacy at blazing speeds, no compromises. They have servers everywhere, 160 locations across 94 countries to keep your real location hidden from prying eyes. They keep you anonymous, and they keep you secure. They encrypt everything, which to me, that's where you get the bang for your buck. But they're also they're there all the time. They provide 24/7 support. Amazing. If you want to give them a shot, please do so. Try expressvpn.com/gruesome magazine. All right, guys, let's get into this. Jeff, you're up first. You're going to dive in and let us know about Rabid, which is from, like we said, directors Jen Soska and Sylvia Soska. The cast includes Laura Vandervoort, Benjamin Hollingsworth, and Ted Atherton, among others. And this is coming out February 4th from Shout Factory. So keep this on your radar to pick it up when it comes out. And
in Canada, it is getting a theatrical release at the end of January, just so you know. Just came out. Yeah.
Which makes sense given
it's a Canadian film. Yeah,
it's a Canadian film. It's The Quiet Rose works in women's fashion clothing, hoping to be a designer. A traffic accident that damages her face. She gets experimental stem cell treatment, leaving her stronger and prettier than ever. But there's a side effect. And if you've seen the original, you get an idea what that is going to be. All right, Jeff Mohr, what was your first impression of Rabid?
I liked this a lot. In fact, I had it on my top 10 for last year. I managed to catch it before the end of the year. And we had just done the original by David Cronenberg on Decades of Horror, the 70s. So that was fresh in my mind. So it was really interesting to see all the neat little callbacks they put in here to the original movie. But at the same time, they made Cronenberg look pretty modest very quickly.
I
mean,
like that.
everything about they overamped almost everything that he did in that movie. But there was lots of neat little callbacks that maybe we can talk about later. But I thought Laura Vandervoort did a great job. She starts out as this timid woman that's kind of traumatized and then it gets traumatized, and then towards the end, then she's finally turning predatory, so and they stuck fairly, except for all the really amped up violence and graphic violence, I should say, they stuck fairly closely to the original script, I think. They put it in little different settings, but otherwise, a lot of the same thing is going on. She's in a crash. She has to lose a big piece of her intestine. Then they add to it that her face is just totally demolished. But from there on, it kind of goes along a similar route. We even get a Santa Claus.
We do get a Santa Claus
that gets slaughtered. So,
all right, well, let's find out what the rest of the crew think. Dave Dreher, what is your first impression of Rabid?
I've been looking forward to this one for a while. We've been talking about this remake for quite some time, and it lived up to all its expectations. With Jeff, I really enjoyed this film quite a bit. I haven't seen Cronenberg's original in a while, but back in our day, Doc, it was one of those kind of video nasties. It's when because Marilyn Chambers starred in it, and ex-porn star, and
I thought she was.
You weren't even allowed to look at it on the video store shelf. It was like the Playboys back in the day. It had a sheet in front of it, so you couldn't see the picture on the front of the cover. It had a reputation, but it's been years since I've seen it. But I think the Soskas did a great job of paying homage to Cronenberg, yet at the same time creating their own story, which worked really, really well. I really don't think that there was a whole heck of a lot that I didn't like about this. Actually, it's well acted. It was well written, well directed, bloody as all hell. Some really great inventive kills, which I'm sure we're going to talk about in round 2 when we go around. Rabid. I'm rabid for Rabid. I'm foaming. I'm foaming at the mouth as we speak.
Ah, nice. You don't have anything in your pits? All right.
That's a rather personal question, Doc.
That is, well, it is. It is. I apologize. All right, let's find out what Crystal Cleveland thinks.
I loved it too. I agree with both of them wholeheartedly. I think they did a better job than Cronenberg, mainly because the story is much better this go around. I mean, they gave the female lead so much more life, and you really felt for her. In the original, you didn't know her well enough to feel anything for her. Like I liked that they made her kind of, bullied and felt ugly, and they gave her all this backstory, and so you kind of have a little bit more sympathy for the lead, which I think makes it more successful. I think that a lot of the special effects were really nice, especially right there at the end. If I had anything to say about this movie, I don't know if it's the screener or not, but there was definitely an issue a couple times with either a makeup issue or a color grade issue, where their skin looked yellow, completely yellow. And that would be my only issue with the film. Like, I was watching that and I was like, it was one of the scenes I remember distinctly was with the designer and her, and I'm like, God, that looks so bad. But other than that, that is my only critique of the movie, which is actually pretty good.
Yeah, I have a feeling that was a choice.
You think so? Because it was horrible.
So.
It was a bad choice.
I don't think it was a good choice, but it was a choice.
Are you talking specifically like at the beginning when she's meek, little mild?
No, later.
No.
Later.
It's later. It's later, and you know which one I'm talking about, right, Doc? Where they look like Oompa Loompas. They look like Oompa Loompas.
Yeah, they're looking
it's
at
really bad.
Yeah, it looks like he got an orange tan, like like a right. It's when they're looking at the designs later with the red dresses and stuff, right?
Yeah, it shocked me. I was like, "Ooh, that looks so bad."
Yeah, I'm not sure what they were trying to do, but yeah, I don't think it was a screener or a mistake.
And I guess I didn't see that. It looked to me like that was his look, was kind of like that the whole time he was.
Well, she looked like that too in that scene, and that's why I'm wondering whether it was a makeup artist or a color. I feel like it was color grading that did. Well,
it might have been. Maybe they were trying to match him and messed her up and didn't realize it. I don't know. It's hard to say, but yeah, I noticed that as well. Now, my first impression is matches everybody else's. I think this is Jen and Sylvia's, the Soska sisters. I think it's their best work. I really do. This is a terrific job. They did a great job with this. I do have a few more problems with it than it sounds like you guys have, and we'll get into that when we get into spoilers and whatnot. But the visceralness of this, I think, far outweighs Cronenberg's original, which, granted, that was early in his career, very low budget, but showed a lot of his potential. It's not to badmouth him, I guess, is what I'm trying to do.
Oh, I love Cronenberg, but I think they did a better job.
I did. Well, the little armpit thing was pretty shocking back in 70.
Yeah, it was. It really helped to build his reputation as with the body horror thing. That was pretty wild back in the day.
Yeah,
it's definitely a time thing. It's watching it now, it's like, ugh.
Yeah, and I was fortunate enough to get to see it on the big screen back in October of this.
Ooh, yeah.
And that was the first time I had seen it, so that was pretty amazing. I really enjoyed this. I thought the lead was really strong. I thought the handling of the doctors was less maniacal and a little bit more scientific than the original, right? So it made a little bit more sense, even though he was, by the end of it, batshit crazy. But up till that point, right? Up until the time when we get the final reveal, which we'll spoil later, which is very different than the original, but in a wonderful way. But some of the Rabid part of it, with what was happening in the world around them, it didn't have the same emphasis as it felt like it did in Cronenberg's. Mainly because they were so isolated from it. It felt like an afterthought. And that disappointed me a little bit, but only because I'm comparing it. If I wasn't comparing it, I wouldn't know that. So I feel like that might be a bit unfair. What I liked was I was more interested in that her talent was different than her appearance. And it's subtle, right? Because she had a talent, but when she was doing the new drawings, the drawings were different than her original drawings that we got to see. And I really dug that. And I wish that would have been, I'd like to have seen more.
It's kind of a theme for both movies, isn't it?
It kind of is, yes. Very much is. But it sounds like we're all in favor of this. So let's dive into spoilers as we get into the rest of it, because I think we need to talk about some of the things that happen. So if you haven't seen the film, please go see it and then come back and listen to the rest of this. But from here to about halfway into the podcast, when we start picking up Bliss, we're going to be doing spoilers. All right. On 3, 2, 1. You've been warned. All right, Dave. Gore.
Oh, gore, and more gore. Yes, very much so.
Yeah, I love the practical gore effect at the end. But what really stood out for you?
I think I even texted you when I seen it. The human Pez dispenser was by far.
Oh, that's Bliss.
Was it?
That's Bliss.
Oh shit! I'm sorry. You mentioned it. The fact that, no, seriously. All kidding aside, these two films are very similar in their tone and storyline. So that doesn't surprise me that I made that mistake. And plus, that that really stuck with me, that scene from Bliss, but we'll get back to that later.
Cool.
Well, hold on to that. Put that in your pocket.
Put that one away. Excuse me. Okay. Well, no, now I got to think of Rabid again. God damn it. There was quite a few that were just outrageous. I'm trying to think of which one affected me the most, though. And actually, I think the ending is going to win for me there, Doc. That's really left a giant impression with me. But there's.
What about the face reveal?
I'm trying to think of another one.
Yeah,
I was wondering actually how they even did that. That had to be very hard for is it Vandervoort? Vandervoort, right? Vandervoort, yeah. That was on Vandervoort.
So let me tell you, I had the chance to meet her once, and let me tell you, she is even more beautiful in real life than I think she looks on screen. If you can believe that. If you can believe, I know, right? Like I'm like, damn. Sorry.
What was the show? She was on a show on Sci-Fi Channel, wasn't she?
Yeah, Bitten.
That's it. That's it.
Yeah, I love her. She's awesome.
But yeah, the that had to be a long prosthetic process. There's no two ways about it. And when we first see it, when they first unwrap her, I mean, I think we were all expecting it to be bad, but we weren't expecting it to be that bad, for Christ's sake.
Right.
That was kind of crazy. But that reveal was good, but there was, I'm just kind of drawing a blank here because I was on that other one with Bliss. That was the one that was in my head. It'll come to me as we go. Move along, please. Move on.
Doc, I just wanted to bring one thing up because when we talked about it on the best of 2019 show, Christopher jumped in and was talking about it, and you asked him if it had an armpit thing, and he said yes and just started laughing because in the original you get like a 2-inch something that sticks out of her armpit that sucks the blood. And this you get
there's like
a 10 foot tentacle, like a couple inches in diameter. Yeah.
It comes flying out. She slices it off at some point.
Yeah. Well, what's up with the? Well, that's the end. You don't want to talk about the end yet, but yeah, we got the wife.
Yeah.
On the back wall there. It's just like, what the hell am I looking at exactly?
That was pretty amazing. I did not know it was going to go there, and that surprised the hell out of me, which I liked. I liked quite a bit. So, Crystal, talk about the lead actress some more.
Other than the fact that she's super hot.
Yeah, super hot. How is she?
I love her in everything. She's also in the new V Wars. Yeah, I know how much y'all love that. Y'all can make fun of me for watching it later. But no, she's great. And I feel like, didn't she do such a great job? I mean, but I got to be honest with you, when they're like, oh, she's so ugly. I was like, what?
What?
Am I missing something? Because I still thought she was hot. But that's just me. But I got to tell you that it went much further than I thought it was going to go as far as her killings and stuff like that. And I'm so impressed by that. I'm so impressed by the different ways they killed. Like the back alley one at the fashion show. And then that dude, I know I'm like, they did such a good job. The
guy, the actor on the soap opera, I love too.
Oh yes,
the smarmy one. Yeah.
But you mentioned the doctor. You mentioned how much you liked it more, and I like it way more. In the original one, they didn't explain any sort of experimental procedure. They didn't show you anything. In this one, they basically told you that they were gene splicing and stuff. So of course, you're gonna. I just feel like this was way more cohesive. And I am a huge Cronenberg fan, but this just worked better. But of course, it's a time issue. We're watching this now as opposed to then. But do you remember when the intern comes into Marilyn Chambers and her tits are just hanging out there? You remember that scene? I'm like, but that makes literally no sense. Okay, so they did a good job of I just think they did an excellent job of the story.
Well, I think
you're really
right.
happy with this.
There was parts of the original that Cronenberg had his science justification in his head, but it's never in the story.
Yeah, it's not clear at all. They give an evidence of some sort of plastic surgery facility or something.
Right,
and then
right.
like that's basically it. Oh, we're not going to be able to do this or whatever. I don't know. It's very sketchy.
Makes you afraid of clinical trials.
But I thought she was great too, because she really does a wide range of emotions and looks, and she sells it the whole way. And when she shows up after her surgery and everything, and she's all done up to go in with Chelsea to this bar, and she meets Gunter on the way out, she is almost unrecognizable with the difference in her look, I thought.
Right. Did you speaking of being recognizable, did you guys catch the red surgical outfits from Dead Ringers?
Oh yeah.
My God,
How could you not?
That was actually okay. So I have that on my list as one of my favorite scenes. Sorry, I was like, oh, yes, I loved it. I was like, that is so weird. I know, lots of red. Their outfits, and I'm so glad they have their little cameo too. Of course, a little more than a cameo, but.
Oh, the Soskas.
Sorry. Yeah.
Oh yeah, the Soskas. Yeah.
Coke snorters in the trapper.
Yes. I'm like, why does everyone think she's so ugly? I can't see her as ugly like at all. Maybe that's just me. Right. But yeah, no, that was the freaking the scrubs or what? They're not really scrubs.
If I ever go in for surgery and they're all dressed in red, I'm just leaving. That's it.
Kill me now.
I'm out.
Done. Do not want tentacle penises coming out of my armpits. Go away.
Tentacle penises.
Oh,
yeah, and the fact that they went so far at the end, like they went in full cuckoo loco, like is insane. It gets insane.
Yeah, they took it far out. Yep. Compare the two films some more, Jeff. Give this one some cred. Tell me why. How should somebody approach this film without tarnishing it from tarnishing is too strong a word, without bringing the baggage of the original?
Well, I don't know what I remember saying on the when I was doing my top 10 list was I thought that they had between the Soskas and John Surge that they did just the right mix of new material built onto that existing kind of story structure and created their own horrifying vision. I don't think it's trash in it at all. Most of what happens in the original, I think, is in this. It's just more.
Yeah.
And at a higher level. So but they do, look for those little homages, like for instance, the Santa Claus, which has one of the only really, well, I guess there's, some of the fashion industry people are kind of caricatures, but the CDC guy, when the cops shoot the Santa Claus, like
he was here for help. He was here for help.
This is a hospital. He's sick. And I'm like, well, you'd have been dead if. Anyway,
so they almost took the same scene, like the pool was like the hot tub in the original.
Yes.
You remember that?
Yeah.
It's almost. I mean, it's almost the same.
There's the scene where she's sort of curled up, writhing on the floor. There's one just like that with Marilyn Chambers, I think, maybe in the bottom of a shower or something. But just a lot of things that are similar. They're on a motorcycle. She's on a scooter. They go to this clinic to get this plastic surgery. It's just and that the outbreak starts and everybody's trying to figure out where patient zero is, and nobody's got a clue because patient zero doesn't have it. Right, patient zero is
right.
So. I just a lot of homages. I think that I certainly wouldn't be offended. Cronenberg fan wouldn't be offended by this unless they think they just went too far, and that's, that amount of gore is probably not for everybody, but I thought it was incredible. And Atherton is that doctor. I forget what his character's name was. I knew something was coming later on. It was that, Ray Fies used to talk about Chekhov's gun. They show you the pictures of his wife on the counter, but you never hear anything about her.
Right.
And here she comes back. You know, they showed it to us, and she came back. So.
Yeah. Well, there's a couple actors I want to mention. First, Tristan Risk as Nurse Dana, who
she has much more clothes on than she normally has.
Yeah, but less fingers, less fingers.
Yeah, less fingers.
She gets a couple of them bit off.
I don't know. I think I like her with all fingers and less clothes, personally.
If you put, you weigh that side by side, there's an argument there. The other one is Mackenzie Gray, who plays Gunther, who is the over the top designer that's got this group of designers he's kind of corralling around, and our hero Rose, played by Laura Vandervoort, is one of them. He's a favorite character actor of mine. He's always over the top, never more so than here. But in our household, unfortunately for me, all these design shows are on all the time. And he sits in that wheelhouse so well with this character. I thought, I loved him. Now, Jeff, you probably, if you're like me, you remember him from what was that Ghost Hunter show way back in the day? Movie.
Grave Encounter.
Grave Encounters, yes. Do you remember that? Oh my gosh.
Yes. No, I thought he was good. Chris was talking that he didn't like that, but I thought it was, to a certain extent, it was over the top. But I also thought it provided a little bit of humor in places too. When he's in the club. Or who was he talking to? The person was interviewing him, and
oh yes, that's
my god!
And his handler gets him the hell out of there.
Shut up, Gunther.
And all he can say is, "I think they like the blue. Did they like the blue?" He had that blue lock hanging down. He was crazy. So, but he had a little more depth, when he actually was dealing with Rose in terms of her creations, I guess.
Yeah. Once he was wowed by her new beauty and her art, he became a little bit more realistic. But 165 credits. I love this guy. He's
I loved him too, and I felt like his character was sympathetic the whole time to her. Like he used her in that first part, and he went up to her and was like, "I'm so sorry, my love, that I used you for this." Whatever, like the bullying thing or whatever. I don't know. I kind of felt I thought he was a very interesting character.
He was.
Yeah, he just was a dick.
He was coming across kind of douchey. Yeah, he was coming across kind of douchey. But then, like you said, Crystal, when he walked up and he was kind of like an example needed to be made, and you just happened to be the one. He was like, "Oh, okay, well, he's not being that douchey, I guess."
That douchey. He was trying to show bullying. That was his whole thing about the making fun of others and stuff. It's very interesting.
He needed an example of Schadenfreude.
I'm like, that sounds good, Jeff. I'm like, I have no idea. I'm like, yep.
All right, well, let's wrap this up. Let's give our final thoughts, our score, and favorite scene for Rabid. Jeff, start us off.
I think this is really good, and I was looking forward to seeing this again because I watched this right at the end of the year, and it jumped right up into my top 10. So it was good to revisit it almost exactly about a month later, and I was still liked it. I just thought it was great. It's American Mary turned up on a lot of top 10 lists back in the day. What was that, like 2012 or 13? This is another step up, I think. I'm giving this 4.5 and 4.5. And favorite scene. Gosh darn. Oh, I know what. Speaking of special effects, when the Good Samaritan follows her down the alley.
No. Yes.
Oh, that's it.
You get the scene.
Yeah. I was wanting to see more of that. But
nice.
He was like, "Oh no, don't go! Oh, don't go in there! Don't go in there!" And he follows her.
Perfect. Dave Dreher, what's your final thoughts, your score, and favorite scene?
Liked it a lot. It's kind of fun watching Jen and Sylvia grow as filmmakers. It seemed like it took Rabid a long time to to get in front of our eyes for some reason. I don't know why. It seems like we've been talking about this movie for 2-3 years. I don't know if we have or not. It just feels that way. But they need to make more films. People need to give these ladies money and let them do their thing, because they know horror and they know gore, and I want to see more of it. I'm going to give it a 4.25. I like how it again paid homage to Cronenberg's without shitting all over it. And yet at the same time, they kind of made it all theirs. And I really like that favorite scene. Oh my, I don't know where to go with my favorite scene. I mean, I hate to be the one to go there, but I'm going to definitely go with the ending, our final big reveal, and all the bloodletting that comes to pass from the reveal of wifey poo hanging on the wall, all the way to the throat slit at the end. It's just one giant oozing, gaping, bloody wound, and
it looked amazing. Like, that's so worthy. Someone
it did. It did. It's kind of obvious, though. I like Jeff's a little better because that was really a fun moment that you weren't expecting. But this one had to be said. If I didn't say it, Crystal, you were going to. So I just beat you to the punch.
No. It's all yours. All yours.
So yeah.
Well, and it did take a long time for it to come out, Dave, because we had it on our in our queue for 70s for 2 years at least. Doc wouldn't let us do it until the new one came out.
Yeah, it really did. I don't know if it was a production issue or a distribution issue or what, but it just seemed like, because they went from See No Evil 2 was their last one before this. Is that right?
Yeah.
I mean,
they did that show, Elevator, which was kind of came and went, but.
Yeah, so hopefully this will lead to them getting much higher profile projects that get out much quicker, because this was very good. There's no denying the talent that was behind this one. So thumbs up, Soska twins.
Yeah, we were talking on the 70s that they should do Twins of Evil, but that might be too on the nose.
Crystal! They could remake Twins with Danny DeVito.
Oh my God. But it doesn't work because they look alike. It would lose all the fun, wouldn't it?
All right. Crystal Cleveland, what is your final thoughts, your score, and favorite scene for Rabid?
I see you almost did it too. You almost said Bliss. I heard you.
I did.
Okay. I concur with the rest of y'all. I'm giving it a 4, which is very high for me. And I'm going to say that one of my favorite scenes is the Silent Hill nurses scene.
Oh
yeah,
that was really
wow, nice.
Yeah, like I mean, I don't know if y'all have heard me or I've said it before, but the Silent Hill nurses is one of my very favorite images. It's very creepy. It's very weird. I think it's such a cool freaking concept. I think it's really genius, and I love that they paid homage to that. Like, awesome. And she looked really hot with that super blonde hair too.
Yes.
A simple yes from Doc.
Yes. All right. Yeah. For me, this is the Soska sisters' best film. I think that I've said that before. I'll say it again. They do indeed, Dave, have a handle on gore. It is done so well here.
They love it. They do it well.
Yes. There's a lot of crimson blood flowing around in here, and when it does, it's brilliant. You did take the scene I wanted to talk about, Dave. It's my favorite scene, but I'll give it a score of I'll give it a 4 as well. It's a solid 4. Really is. My favorite scene. I'm going to go with the reveal when they take it off and you see it, because it was just what made it work so well. I mean, viscerally it works, but the reaction not only of herself but her friend, and the doctor, who is played by McCaddy, right?
Stephen McCaddy.
Stephen McCaddy. he does that so well.
Yeah, he did.
The way he hides, he expresses his reaction to it, but hides it from her at the same time. It's brilliant. It was like, because he gives that little wink, nod, kind of chin thing going on. I'm not really sure how to express it, but it's like, dude, like, girl, you
ugly, ugly.
You hit every branch coming down that ugly tree. I'm sorry, but because it was gnarly. Anyway, that's where I'm going to go.
He's the Pontypool guy, right?
Yeah,
he was the Pontypool guy.
Yeah.
Yes, he's in a lot of stuff, and he has a small role here, but important. All right, that's our review of Rabid from the Soska sisters. It comes out from Shout Factory on February 4th, so check it out. Up next is a film that is landing on Shudder January 30th. Director is Joe Begos. Did we already review like one film from him this year already? Or did we?
Well, VFW is coming up.
Yeah,
that's
VFW
right.
is coming.
That's right.
Well, he had one. What the hell was it? Like Terminal Man or what the hell was that?
He's got a lot of films, but yeah, VFW was the film I was thinking of, and we'll be doing that in February, so that'll be exciting. But the cast is Dora Madison, True Collins, and Rise Wakefield. A great cast, by the way. There's a lot of other surprises that we'll probably want to talk about as we get into it. It is a brilliant painter faces the worst creative block of her life, turns to anything she can to complete her masterpiece, spiraling into a hallucinatory hellscape of drugs, sex, and murder in the sleazy underbelly of L.A. All right. Well, there's I'm just going to say there's vampires.
Yeah. Really? Just gave all the fun away. I'm just
give it all away. Give it all away. That's not a spoiler. That's an invitation.
Yeah.
All right, Crystal Cleveland, you're up first. What was your first impression of Bliss?
Okay. So this one was an interesting one for me. When I first started watching this, I was like, ooh, oh, here we go. I kind of hated it. I thought it was a little too out there, a little too weird. It didn't take long, however. I don't know what happened. I don't know when it happened. Wish I could have a defining moment, but there was a moment where I was like, oh, I like those colors. I like those lights. Oh God, she's a vampire. That, because I really didn't know much about it. I didn't listen too much about it. I was like, oh, it's super bloody. And I was like, oh, there's a lot of nudity. That's cool. And I fell in love with the movie, especially by the end. I was like, yeah, I got really excited about it. So started off meh, and then it like finished on a super high note. So I had like I totally had a ride on this one. Yep. I think visually it's wacky. It's not incredibly difficult to understand though. For as trippy and as drug induced like stuff that they have going on, it's cohesive and it makes sense, and it's all very simple at its core. There's not much of a story to it, but I don't even care. It was cool. Yeah, it's cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it would have also paired well with the films last week. So.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, because definitely.
Yeah.
But yeah, I loved it. At the end, I loved it. I think it had one of the greatest scenes I've seen in a long time.
I can't wait to hear about that. But before we do, Dave Dreher, what was your initial thoughts? What are they about Bliss?
Well, actually, not too far astray from Crystal. I began watching this, and I was like, "Oh, Jesus Christ!" I think I text Doc and said, "If I got to watch another movie with bright flashing purple and green lights and people being douchebags, I'm going to scream." And because that's the first 38 minutes of this movie was absolutely horrendous for me. At one point in time, I wanted to turn it off and put in a Rob Zombie film just so I could wash it out of my eyes. But like Crystal, there it gets a point, and you're like, oh, okay, well, that was kind of cool. And so at about the 45-minute in mark, it kind of became a different movie. And it ended strong, as as evident. In the last review, I chose a scene from this movie as my favorite scene. So there are some memorable kills in this movie. I found it really predictable, very lazy writing wise. There wasn't much to this. There was as many fucks in this as there are in a Rob Zombie movie. Seriously, I think there was one scene where the boyfriend comes in and she's been strung out, and it's just like, fuck. Well, fuck. Fuck. Yeah, I'm like, what? My God.
Is this a PG podcast?
Not
anymore. Yeah, seriously though. I mean, it was kind of insane. The only difference between this and Rob Zombie, when Rob Zombie did it in Halloween 2, he was trying to make a point. In this, I think it's just the writer thinks it's cool to say the F word. I'm not really sure. So I found it kind of lazy there. And the characters were really not well developed at all. Crystal, you were being very, very kind to say there's not much of a story. There really isn't a story here at all. It's like a spoiled artistic girl gets pissed and takes drugs and bad things happen to her. That's pretty much it. Yeah, so I wasn't liking it there whatsoever. It definitely is playing into this whole thing with the all of a sudden being able to flash pretty lights and stuff is great filmmaking. But again, it turns that corner and at the end becomes a very high potent gore film. It really truly does. I like the soundtrack a lot. Had a good kind of metal driven soundtrack. So it did turn out that there were things to like about this movie. So like Crystal said, it took me for a bit of a ride.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, I know. I spent like 30 minutes convincing you not to give up.
Yeah, it was bad. Yeah, it was bad at the beginning, and you were like, no. He's like, no, the blood starts flowing. I'm like, okay, I'll hang on. So I'm glad I did. I liked the way it ended, although the ending was very predictable for me. When you can start, well, I don't want to spoil anything yet, but as the piece that she's working on starts taking shape, I'm like, I know exactly how this is going to end, and that's exactly how it ended. Because again, the writing was kind of lame on this, so it was, you could see it coming from 1,000 miles off.
Yeah. I knew you had changed your mind because it wasn't too much longer. I get this text, Pezhead.
That was really cool. Yeah,
he likes it.
That was pretty cool. So yeah, it did. It kind of took you on a little bit of a ride, and so yeah, it wasn't all bad.
All right, Jeff Mohr, what was your first impression of Bliss?
Well, apparently I'm a sucker for stories about spoiled artistic girls who take drugs and swear.
That's true. Yeah.
Anyway, I don't know why, but that the beginning didn't bother me as that much. It bothered me a little bit, but actually, I'm trying to think of a way to say that. I have been around people like that.
Oh God! You have a high tolerance for whiners.
Oh no! Well, this was like 40 years ago. Okay, so it just kind of took me back, is what it did. It was sort of a deal like that. But anyway, she was frustrated. She was mad. She was, all that stuff. I thought she did a really good job. As far as the acting goes, I liked. I've seen Joe Begos' other movies, and I think this is a huge step up from, like, I forget what the other one, Mind's Eye.
Mind's Eye, that's the one I was trying to think of. Yes,
yeah,
I remember that one.
A fun one.
That was like a budget movie, and this is, to me, is like a much, much better film. It still has Graham Skippers in this one too, and so is Jeremy Gardner, who was the battery.
Matt Mercer.
Which one is Matt Mercer?
He's the bloody body. Now, Mind's Eye, because Mind's Eye was very Cronenberg too, right? Wasn't that the one that was
had the penal gland kind of coming out,
kind of scannery,
right? There was a lot of bulging eyes while they concentrated and blew people up. Yeah, and Larry Fessenden was like his dad, I think.
Oh yeah. I like all.
Well, this had Norm in it. Come on, we had Norm in this.
Yeah. No,
Norm.
So yeah. I love the scenes with Graham. You know, it was interesting to me because she acted terribly, but she seemed to have some friends that cared about her. Even though, you know, the Graham Skipper character, Hadrian, was like her drug dealer and was going to be mad if she didn't. He's the one that gives her this nasty stuff called Bliss, I guess. And her other friend, True Collins, plays Courtney, which was that supposed to be Courtney Love type takeoff with that name? I don't know. But so I don't know. I just liked it. And it didn't take as long as I remembered when I watched it the first time. This again, I watched at the end of last year and I put it on my top 10. So, because it had a big impact on me. At the end of this, I was just like, wow. Do they need to say fuck that many times? Probably not. But I think I know people that do that. So I'm not, it's not that outrageous for me to hear somebody say that. It reminded me a little bit, I think, only because of the painting and the soundtrack of Devil's Candy. Some pretty hard music soundtrack. I love where do I want to go with this? I liked it a lot, and I didn't see. It took a little bit for the vampire stuff to come. You know, there's a couple scenes where you're just not sure. At least for me, I wasn't, because of how potent this drug was supposed to be. So,
until the bathroom scene, right?
It could have gone. Yeah, it could have gone with the wave. I also thought the comparison with Rabid is that really there was like these artistic people, only she was sort of in the underbelly side of it, where the other ones were in the elevated, hoity-toity side of it in the fashion world. But they were both going to parties and doing drugs with lots of loud music and stuff.
Yeah. The parallel's definitely there. But again, when you compare them kind of side by side, Soska's did such a better job.
Well, there's a lot more. I agree. There's a lot more story to it, but this is more like, to me, the story of this. I guess she's just degenerating as she is trying to get this piece of work out. I don't know. There's some background too to the director, and it's been a while since I read it, so I don't want to bring it up. But go read an interview with Joe Begos, because he went through some stuff before he made this movie, not drug related or anything, but just some deaths in the family and stuff like that. And this was sort of like his way of dealing with it. And I could really see that, I guess. But yeah, I love the different camera techniques. It was techniques where they were like, had the cameras mounted behind her, in front of her. And it just really mimicked this sort of, out of perception drug trip she was on. I'll stop there, Doc. I liked it a lot. I did.
Well, it ended up on because you got to see it far earlier than we did. So it, ended up on your top 10. So for last year. So that's amazing. I enjoyed this quite a bit. I had the same kind of experience. The first little bit, I wasn't as turned off as Dave. I wasn't texting or, I wasn't ready to like poke needles in my eyes or anything, but I was kind of like, oh, okay. I like that scene. Oh, that's cool. And it was kind of, kind of bouncing around, but not in a very cohesive way. And then I would say right around the time we get that bathroom scene with Courtney and Desi, that it starts to take shape, and then it becomes quite an interesting ride from there, and it gets gorier and gorier and gorier as it goes, and delightfully so. I found the lighting choices a little too far. Some restraint would have helped, but at the same time, I get it. Because they're going after a very, very specific aesthetic, because of they're wanting very much to visualize Desi's experience, and she's there's difference between when she's riding in the car at the beginning of the movie and when she's riding in the car later on covered in blood. It's very coked out, very drugged out. And then of course she also has this, this vampirism that she acquires along the way, which is more of a metaphor here than it is anywhere else. Right. For vampires, it's all on those lines. But so what really makes this movie work for me is Dora Madison. It is a tour de force performance. She is chaotic and energetic and spitfire. She is
nude.
She is nude. She is nude. I did notice that, but I thought she was just. I mean, it was this chaotic energy that this character needed, and I get it why these other characters were attracted to her, but yet, she was still alone, right? She didn't really know who to call a friend, even though she had friends. And, it was, I don't know. At the end, I was like, okay, I like that. There are some cinematic choices that I think, are brilliant when they, follow her around. Like there's one scene that when she first takes Bliss and she kind of falls back, that is really, really cool. It's in the trailer, so I'm not spoiling anything. But later they do a couple other scenes similar where the camera follows her around, like when she's going around the circle with the phone, and it gives it this really spark of energy. And whenever she wakes up, it's the camera like feels like it's also waking up, which is really interesting.
It's disorienting the way that he shoots it, right?
Yeah, but on purpose, right? So
right.
Yeah. And then she looks badass when she's full vampire. I'm just saying, when she rises up and starts kicking ass, and she's badass.
Yeah, she looks the same, but yeah, she is badass.
She looks badass when she's covered.
She doesn't look
she's
any
covered.
different.
She's covered in blood. She looks entirely different.
She does not. That's actually really cute. Oh, I love that you think that. But no, I love that you're like, she's covered in blood, so she's so tough.
Well, that's not what stuff. I mean, it's more than that. I mean, there's her body acting is
her strength and her body.
Yeah.
Posture.
Of course. She's got her like little. I'm glad that they didn't give him fangs in a way. They took a different sort of.
Well, she still bites into people. Holy cow!
Oh,
all right.
Well, yeah, with
excessive
strength.
Excessively, Pez. Let's throw a spoiler here, because spoiler warning, because we gotta talk about the effects, and that's going to spoil a lot of the things. So if you haven't seen this film, check it out. It's coming on Shudder here very soon. Yeah, check back with us after you've seen it and hear the rest of this. 3, 2, 1. You've been warned. All right, Dave, you've been wanting to talk about it, obviously, all night. Talk about the Pez scene, buddy.
Yeah, that was a shocking scene. Again, we see a lot of these type of movies. It's not. It's very uncommon to see something kind of new and original. But yeah, I mean, she literally makes a human Pez out of this dude. I mean, that's the only way of putting it, right, Doc? I mean, that's it. That's what happens.
No, Pez is perfect. Yes.
Yeah, and it was shocking, and again, probably the sole reason I'll end up recommending this film to be watched, because that I was just like, holy shit, man, that is something. And then from that point on, it's actually a really great movie. So yeah, I mean, but I mean, that's just the tip of the iceberg. We got the the guy that melts on the floor, that was great. And then them rolling around in his goo when they're fighting. that was just disgusting.
Yes.
And really even the earlier scene when she takes out Norm and all Norm's buddies there. When she comes out of the bathroom,
Abraham and Rudy, yes,
and
Ruby rather
goes on a bit of a feeding frenzy. It was all that. It was all great. It was great, horrific, bloody, nasty, practical effects. We need so much more of that. So it definitely made sitting through the first part worth it. So, and I know I'm leaving out a bunch of stuff. I just know I am, but. This movie's a bloodbath. The last half of this movie is a bloodbath.
It's all blood. Like the whole thing. Okay, so like what I was talking about, my favorite scene, it wasn't the Pez dispenser. It was when she is covered in blood and she's painting. It's like this whole scene of her just like kind of
Yeah, dancing around and
Freaking
racing
out.
around.
Yeah.
And yeah.
I loved it. Just felt so raw and awesome, and I love it.
It's almost like they just turned the camera on her and they went like, just go fucking nuts, just go crazy, and she did just that. But yeah, it is. That's a memorable scene as well.
I mean, she's just in a thong, and you can't really see anything because she's so covered in blood. And I just think it's like, I don't know, it's amazing. That scene is where I was like, oh my God, I love this. This is so good. Like, I want to do that. That is so fun. I like blood, though. You know, that's why I'm like,
I want to do that. So does Doc. He wants to be in a thong covered in blood, but that's a whole other conversation.
Dance around was.
I mean, I was thinking about the cat fight, and I was like, damn, that is slippery. You know, it's super slippery.
Oh yeah, well, yeah, especially with the melting man on the floor too. That didn't help.
Yeah, I mean, it's like they're like flip flopping around. I was like, I like that they also brought in some standard vampire lore. Obviously, the stake through the heart and the sun.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
kind of cool. I didn't even consider the sun before until that point.
Right,
makes sense though. Mm-hmm.
Outside of Dora Madison, are there any other performances that you want to spotlight? Like maybe True Collins as Courtney.
Yeah, no, she was okay. I mean,
fair enough.
Like there wasn't anything special about her performance. She was just okay. Like I didn't feel it really, to be honest. I feel like the other girl did such a phenomenal job. Sometimes the other actors get lost in that, and that's unfortunate. I do wish that we had seen more of her boyfriend, however, because that's one of the guys from Reprisal, and I love him in Reprisal.
Was that you talking about Jeremy Gardner, or are you talking about Rise?
No, Rise or Reese or whatever it is.
Reese.
Yeah, the Australian dude.
Reese.
Yeah, Reese. Yeah, he's so awesome in Reprisal. So we barely got anything from him on this, but
well, the two of them reminded me of was it what Lovers Left Alive or something like that?
Oh,
together, yeah, and he was the bad guy from the original Purge too. You remember him?
Oh yeah.
Oh, yep.
Hey, I think he's great. I feel like he was underutilized here, honestly.
Yeah, it's almost like a cameo. But he does melt well.
He did. He melted like a good ice cream cone.
They reminded me of some some Evil Dead effects. I mean, it worked beautifully, but it was like that looks like melting ice cream. It was not too far off.
Another thing that I thought was interesting is that she wasn't still getting what she was doing. And so the stuff that she thought of as like she was running around, nobody was answering her phone calls. It's because she killed them all. You know,
yeah, they were all dead. You know, she was trying to.
She was calling Adrian, and she's calling her boyfriend, and she's calling. Anyway, goes and knocks on the door. Where is everybody? I need to talk to somebody. I'm like,
they're in your belly.
Yeah.
I feel like she wasted a lot of blood, though. I mean, it seems like she barely drank from. Well, that was unfortunate. I mean, Courtney did have a point when she's like, "You're like on a binge and there's rules." I'm like, yeah.
But what I thought was, oh, wait a minute, you turned her and you never even told her. So you just know the rules. I mean,
well, I feel like she kind of expected better from her. I think she expected more. Yeah. I think she thought she would get it faster than what she did, and then she just couldn't get with the program.
Oh, she was always coked out, so
yeah. Besides all the drugs she was ingesting and turning,
it was interesting. I feel like I love how the dude mentions at the end. He's like, "So the question is it the bliss or the blood?" And because I was thinking the same thing. I was like, "Is it the bliss or the blood? Is it the bliss?" And he's like, "I think it's the blood."
That threw me a minute too when he turned back up. I had to get back into the vampire lore there.
Yes. I was like, oh, I guess he's. Why did he make it though, and the others not? I don't really understand that part.
Because it was in the script.
Well, do we know that the others didn't?
Yeah. Yeah, I guess that's fair. We don't, do we?
Yeah.
Oof.
But I think the film really, lives and dies on her performance. She is.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
It is a remarkable performance, and I'm not entirely familiar with any of her other work. Are you? Are either of you? Any of you?
No.
No.
Well,
No, I saw something. She had a part in one of the Into the Dark movies we did. The one with the mother who was cloning girls for her serial killer son. You remember that one?
That's interesting. Yeah, of course I do.
What was the name of that one? All That We Destroy. I think she was one of the girls. Not the main one, but she had a part in that.
That's
But
interesting.
she was in Dexter. I don't remember her though.
Yeah, I don't know.
Um,
Chicago Fire. Now that I do remember from commercials. I guess looking back, I never watched the show, but
Night of the Babysitter, and she's going to be in VFW. Yeah.
So is George Wendt.
Ah, nice.
I think.
Nice.
I thought I saw another connection there.
Yeah, he is. Yeah. I'm not sure. I felt a little sad when he's laying on the floor and is bleeding out from his arm. He's just like, It's like, oh no, Norm.
And what's the other guy? The tall guy. Yeah. I remember him. What was he in? Was it
Well,
like
was
Night Court?
Abraham Baru. Yeah, Ben.
He was in Open Range. I don't know
Was
if you
it? Was he in Night Court?
No, I don't think so.
Oh God.
That was
You're
Richard.
thinking of Richard Mohl.
Oh gosh, I'm really bad. Sorry. Sorry. I didn't watch it. Just thought he was a big tall dude. I'm gonna shut up now.
I think he was on ER.
Yeah, ER is what he's most known for. He was the big tall orderly that, for 137 episodes. So
Yeah.
Wow.
Nice, yeah.
But he's it feels like he's aged not so well. Sorry, but that's just me. I liked him in here because he's the big guy. He comes because he gets. Remember they have that big fight and they send him out, and that's when she goes bonkers, and he comes back in like, what the fuck?
Yeah. Everyone's dead, laying on the floor, bleeding.
And she grabs him by the neck and lifts him up, and she's like, 2 feet tall compared to him, right? So it's like, how did she do that? It's like amazing. She can't even reach the top of her painting, but she can lift this guy up off the floor.
Yeah. No, I dug it. I like the sort of I don't know if I want to say the frantic pace because
it's chaotic.
It's chaotic. Yeah, that's it. That, and I guess the colors didn't bother me. I could see how they would, but it wasn't something. When there's a warning comes on the screen, there'll be flashing lights in this. It's like, okay, I'm ready.
Wonderful. All right, well, let's wrap this up. Let's give our final thoughts, our score, and favorite scene. Crystal, start us off.
Okay, so like I said, started off, but it ramped up, and I really enjoyed it at the end. And I would recommend it on the. Oh God, my dog. I would recommend it on kind of like just knowing that maybe you might not love, first half or whatever, but it gets so trippy and pretty cool so yeah, I recommend it overall for sure. I'm gonna give it actually a 3.75.
Oh, nice.
Ooh.
Yeah,
Nice.
and I did kind of mention my favorite scene. It has to be that scene just blows me away with her covered in the blood at the end, dancing and painting and being super crazy and weird alone. I don't know. I just really felt that scene in my soul.
Felt it in your soul. I like that. Yeah, these two lead characters from these two movies take approach to their art much differently than each other. Let's just put that out. All right, Dave Dreher, give us your final thoughts, your score, favorite scene.
Well, my final thoughts are a little better than what I would have originally thought they were going to be. Again, I find kind of at its core this to be a very lazy kind of film. The director seems to be trying to copy a lot of the visual stylings that are like cool in the moment now, seeing a lot of these movies that look an awful lot alike. I don't know that I ever really see the director's vision here. The movie is definitely saved by the lead actress and by the gore at the end of the film. So kudos to her and kudos to the effects department for being able to shine this turd up to the point that I can actually give it a 2.75. Gorehound should definitely see it. Really, honestly, you could go to the 42-minute mark and start it. You're not going to miss anything. You're going to see all the good stuff. The lady's a painter. She's a twat. She takes drugs. Go to 42 minutes. That's all you need to know.
That's pretty true.
Yeah, go to 42 minutes. That's when she kills Norm and all the buddies, and it kind of amps up from there. Just a lot of wasted space in this movie. So 2.75 is the best you're going to get, but I appreciated the gore, and the lead actress is kick-ass.
Definitely. All right, Jeff, sir, your final thoughts, score, favorite scene. Bliss.
We already know your favorite scene, right?
Oh yeah, my favorite scene, Pez head. Done.
Pez head. Pez head. Goes without saying. As I moved on.
I gave my favorite scene for this one in the Rabid review.
You did.
You just couldn't wait. He was so excited. No, I like this a lot, and I guess I didn't have some of the same problems that Dave has. I don't know. So this was in my top 10 for last year. I'm giving this a 4.5.
Nice.
And I don't think it's. I wouldn't say it's equal with, the way I do my ratings are probably quite a bit different. It's not that it's as good a movie as Rabid. It's that it had as much impact on me.
Oh, that's fair.
That makes sense.
And I loved watching it, and I loved watching it the second time. My irritation with the character being a twat did not last 38 minutes. It only lasted about 10 or 15, and then at some point I was just like into it. I was just along for the flow. I thought it was really visually interesting, and the soundtrack too. So anyway, my favorite scene, and I wish I could be more clear about it because I think she does this a couple times, but it's when she's like in a fight, and then all of a sudden, like the vampire powers come, and she does a Nosferatu.
Oh yeah, that straight up thing. That is cool. Yeah. They did that 2 or 3 times. That was pretty kick ass. Yeah.
And the way they shot it, as I assume they had like something mounted on her, but it was a disorienting perspective. It wasn't like we're standing on the floor watching her do that. We were doing it with her, and I thought that was very cool.
That was pretty cool. That's actually a really good choice because that was a cool technique. However they did it.
I don't know how you did it, Jeff, but you took my favorite scene.
I was thinking,
you did it.
Whoa, something's going to happen now.
Because I love the way she, kind of came.
Well, she did it several times, so you could take one of these.
like the end, like the ending was really, that's when she went bonkers. But all right, so I'm just going to say the reason to watch this is to watch Dora Madison. I suspect she's going to be cast in this kind of role for a while, but I definitely want to see her do more films and genre films at that. I'd like to see that. And I'm excited about this director. Not like Dave said, not for the script or storytelling, but for the camera choices. Yeah. I think he's really developing a unique style with his camera choices here. And it looks like VFW matches that in its own way. So I'm looking forward to seeing him grow as a director. And I like this film quite a bit. I'm going to give it I was going to give it a 3.75, but I'm going to go ahead and give it a 4.
Ooh.
Because I just don't, I don't want to be accused of sharing the same brain as.
That's me?
Not that it would be a bad thing, because we'd be giving everything the same score. So.
Well, yeah, we do that because
we do that a lot.
Great minds. That's part
true.
of it. Yeah.
Right. But I want to be my own identity, man.
I want to be my own.
So Doc, we told you how to express your creativeness. You gotta get on that thong and dance around and do that painting
blood.
Up there.
Yes.
Blood.
We're gonna splash you in blood. Like that's what you missed.
That was Tuesday. So.
Oh.
Yeah. I'm
Thursday is oatmeal.
Yeah, Thursday's oatmeal. Oh, shit. Can't get that out of the credits.
I don't know.
So my favorite scene is, now that you've taken it, what am I going to choose? I think I'm going to go back to when she first takes Bliss, right? And it's what impressed me in the trailer, and I thought, oh man, this is going to have some cool stuff. And it's a little bit longer in the film and has a little bit more to it. But she kicks that first bit, and boom, back she goes. And the camera work, it's mounted to her, so it follows her back, and she's, she slowly goes back to the floor, and then she's laying there, and you feel it expresses that, otherworldliness of, her mind state at that time, right? The drugs having an effect. And then what? She wakes up, and it's like hours later, and isn't that incredible?
Yeah. There's different people there.
Yeah. It's all the music's playing. She walks out there, or somebody like bangs into the room, like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know you were in here, right? And she darts up. I like the way it felt like it was, shifting gears with that. And the Wave did it similarly, right? The Wave also had that effect, but did it in a different way. So it's interesting. I like the approach, and anytime it followed her around, and it was static on her, and the world was going crazy around her. I thought that was great use of that technique that made you feel, the world was falling apart and chaotic around her. So it was a good choice. It was like painting onto the celluloid, which makes sense, right? All right, so that's our review for Bliss from director Joe Begos. The cast includes Dora Madison, True Collins, and Wakefield, or Reese. We decided it was Reese, right?
I believe it's Reese.
I believe it's Reese as well. It's available on Shudder beginning January 30th of 2020, so check it out. All right, I did not think this was going to get to good reviews, because outside of the Pez comment, Dave was pooping all over this one. So
Didn't like the first half of it, but it saved itself.
Came around. All right. So if you want to give us some feedback about these films or any others, or make recommendations, feedback@gruesomemagazine.com is the way to do it. You can also go to our Facebook group or gruesomemagazine.com and leave a comment on the show notes. Guys, I want to sidestep just for a quick second. Remember we reviewed Dracula, right? Just playing on Netflix.
Yes.
I found out that there was a call out to, or a reference to, SpongeBob.
What?
SquarePants. Yes. There's a call out to SpongeBob SquarePants.
Okay.
All right.
You're going to tell us.
Is anybody here a fan of SpongeBob?
Of course. Yeah, okay. But I don't remember.
So the hash slinging slasher, right? Or the hash slinging slasher, where at the end, who's turning on and off the lights? And you look over and, Nosferatu. And they have a picture of Nosferatu with a funny grin. He's turning the lights off and on. You remember that? Anybody?
Yeah.
I do not remember that.
You do not?
I do not.
I don't. Never watched it.
It happens to be my favorite scene in all of SpongeBob. I love that SpongeBob episode. But anyway, what I didn't catch, and somebody shared with me, a friend of the show, or actually he takes care of the Patreon for us, Paul Gardulo, that when Dracula goes into the house, he goes over to the light switch and turns it off and on and off and on and off and on. He goes, "Oh, I like this," and that is.
I totally didn't get it.
It's using, in effect, a Nosferatu, right?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right, that didn't go over as well as I was hoping. But anyway,
I got you. Well, because he was impressed by electricity, right? That was the whole thing. Yeah.
Right.
I can't believe I never would have made that connection. I just wouldn't have. I'm just not quite that smart.
Yeah. Nope. Good for them, right? All right.
Nice ball.
Yeah, it works so much better in my head. Jeff, Dave, Crystal, thank you for joining me tonight.
Oh, thank you.
For having
Thank
me.
you.
It was so fun.
It was. All right, let's say goodnight.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.